So when he told me this, I thought, well, this sounds right. This sounds like it must be that. And so I dispatched our experts who are behind me, our curator John Lovett and historian of the university, Professor Levy, out to David's house to look. And so they came back with what they found, and I'll let them share this briefly with you. And now you've seen the building behind us. So, David, you want to?
I'll start and say a few words, very few words about the building itself. The university was authorized, as you probably know, for Norman in December of 1891, and in that month the First Board of Regents authorized bids for a first building. It went to a Kansas construction firm and a Kansas architect because the Regents were all Republicans with Kansas ties. And by April of 1892, the basement was dug, and it looked as though the building would be ready for the first group of students that were to arrive in September of 1892. But then construction slowed because of money difficulties, and the new governor's suggestion that it was wrong to spend money in anticipation of funds. There's no technology that I can defeat. Are you having trouble hearing me? How's that? Yeah? So the first year's instruction at the university took place in a building on Main Street in Norman, a building now torn down, and there's a plaque there if you go and look for it. But the building behind me was ready for the second year of instruction. It was completed in August of 1893 and ready for students in September. It was valued at, in 1892, $3 at $26,000. And it consisted of 3 floors and a basement. It had 22 rooms, and all of the functions of the university were encompassed within its walls. The library, the president's office, all the classrooms, and all of the offices for the faculty. Think of it as a big high school building. What else to say about it is that opinions varied about the beauty of its architecture. Local people thought it was terrific. A testimony to the architect and the interior designers. Other people were not so kind, and the classic remark was made by a famous new professor who became famous, Vernon Parrington, who said he got off the train in 1897, walked to this thing which they were calling a university, saw this ugly building with a wart on top of it, halfway between a cupola and a dome, he said. And the only restful thing that met his eye was the ivy growing up the side. Anyway, on the evening of January 6th, 1903, a night watchman at 11 o'clock at night noticed smoke pouring out of one of the basement windows. He sounded the alarm, which was on Main Street, half a mile away. Within a half an hour, the entire town had gathered to watch the fire. The Norman Fire Department, Norman was only 14 years old, the entire fire department was there, but no hydrant was available. The hose was not long enough to reach the nearest hydrant, so they tried to save it by pouring water. there was a frantic effort to save what could be saved. Not much could be saved. A few papers, no books. The only books that remained after the fire were those that some students had checked out for studying. Everybody's private collections, lecture notes, everything was lost. The value set for the insurance purpose was $40,000 for the loss of the building, and it was a sad business, but the only encouraging thing about it was the fact that a second building was almost near completion, and that was the building President Boren described as being the one that sat on the site where Evans Hall now is, but that subsequently burned down itself in 1908. I want to close by thanking, adding my thanks to David Harper for doing the right thing. It was the right thing to do. However, not everybody does the right thing. He did, and I think the community is in his debt. Thank you. Now you want
Let John Lovett say a concluding word here, and then we'll go up to that.
I'm having as much trouble as David. Anyone hear me? No?
How's that? See, I was going to give David a hard time about the microphone, but it seems I had just as much trouble. I'd like to point out, when I came here in 1976, David Levy was my advisor. So, and also, sir, I was in the field house when you, then as governor, welcomed presidential candidate Jimmy Carter to campus. So, anyway, this basically, I'm very fortunate to see some of the treasures that are part of the university, and this is definitely one of them. And I've looked at this photograph, where this plaque may have been, and some think it was here, but I feel it was inside the front entrance. Now, I've looked at the ruins of this building. When this building burned, this section was still left. So it was left standing. So that's why I think that the item would have been, survived inside the front door. And again, some of the things that were saved, we have at the Western History Collections. The charter was saved. Boyd's scorched papers, a hymnal from the chapel. So we have a few of those treasures along with this, of course. But this item is, I think, probably one of the best things I've seen. This building was located when they were digging the addition, the basement for the addition behind the chemistry building. They dug into the ruins of this first building. So and this building faced east. So, and again, this is a remarkable...
Behind where old science is now?
No, behind where the chemistry building...
The chemistry.
Yes, there's the connection there that goes into the physical science building. And when they were digging that basement, they hit the basement of this building that they had just filled in the ruins. So it would have been right behind the chemistry building facing east.
No, it was not where Evans Hall is now, as I originally thought. I always thought the administration building faced the oval. Of course, Harrington, who's been referenced, our first professor of English and first football coach, also won the Pulitzer Prize in intellectual history. And so that's always good to say. No other university has a coach that won the Pulitzer Prize in intellectual history, and we did. But he designed, also laid out the ovals and selected some of the early architecture. This would have been, he didn't like this architecture.
He did not.
He did not, as has been said. Professor, but this building is sort of behind where the chemistry building is.
Yes. Appreciate it very much. It's a great opportunity. Thank you.
Well, I thought we'd come down now, the players come down and get behind this, or maybe we'll come down and get beside it, then I'll come back and we'll have this 3 or 4 more announcements, and then we'll also have questions. So why don't we get two of us on each side of this and we'll unveil this. I will say that this is the monumental stone. Now it'd sort of be like the brass plaques that we call the Regents plaques inside buildings, but they did it in stone, much more elegantly back then, in territorial days. We are going to put it on the Stewart Landing in the Union, right where the seal is, and the windows open out at the Stewart Landing. It will be embedded by Brian Ellison, Facilities Management, into the wall, and then with it we'll have a brass plaque talking about the fact that this is the last known remaining piece of the very first building ever built to start the University of Oklahoma. So I'll put that in here as well. We'll pull it here so you can see it. Line up. So we pull that. Excuse me, help me. Okay, here we go. There it is. There is the first dedicatory stone. And you can see it was built by a builder in Topeka, Kansas. That's listed here. And the territorial governor is here. And these are, as David has verified, the list of the very first regents. First they were called, I think, the Board of Education or something like that. Whatever they call regents. They were called
This time regents, but later.
Later, Board of Education. So these are the very first ones. So we're going to put that in the Union where everybody can see it. So we wanted to share that with you first.